Hey guys, let's talk about Hippco. We normally talk about Hippco when we do endangered species, but we didn't get there this year. But the term for the concept for Hippco might come up when you're talking about threats to biodiversity on the AP test. So, what is Hippco? Hippco is our way to remember the causes of extinction or threats to biodiversity. At its worst, it can cause a species to go extinct. Best case scenario causes a species bottleneck. What's that? A species bottleneck is I have my population with its certain genetic diversity. Something bad happens, and now I have fewer species in my population, and my species has changed. My genetic diversity has changed, so that even if the population comes back, you can see right here, I have an overrepresentation of red marbles and an underrepresentation of yellow marbles. This happened famously with whooping cranes in the 1920s. We barely saved the whooping crane population. But now, as they're coming back, we see scoliosis happening to these guys. The scoliosis gene in whooping cranes is being overexpressed thanks to this bottleneck. What causes bottlenecks? Let's remember Hippco. So H is for habitat destruction. So you look at this poor koala in Australia. Remember, the plow follows the axe. And so before I have arable, crop growable land, I have to do some deforestation. And that's going to cause the habitat to be degraded, habitat to be destroyed, habitat to be disrupted and fragmented. Habitat degradation causes species loss. It threatens biodiversity. There's also the the I is for invasive species. This is a Burmese python. It belongs in Burma, it belongs in India, but it's been introduced to Florida. And now the Everglades populations of species are under attack by these Burmese pythons. There are more Asian carps in the Mississippi River than in their native region in China. So an invasive species is a threat to biodiversity. It can cause native species to go extinct or be endangered. The P is for pollution. So this is the famous case, the sad case of these shearwater birds that have this plastic pollution in their stomachs, and that's a threat to their population. Don't forget, DDT poisoning made its way through bioaccumulation up to the peregrine falcon and bald eagle population. Honeybees are under attack from pesticide pollution. The first P in Hippco is for pollution. You'll remember that one. The second P, I'm going to go over this real fast, is human population. To me, that's underlying all of these. Human population growth is another threat to species. Um, Climate change. So most famously, here's a polar bear. Their geographical range is shrinking due to climate change. Other places, their range is increasing. So mosquitoes can actually go further throughout our planet, and they're causing native species to go extinct as well. So climate change is another terrible threat to species and genetic diversity. Finally, there is the O is for over exploitation, over hunting, overfishing. Pretty soon there's going to be more plastic in the ocean than fish in the ocean because we're overfishing. Here's a pangolin. They're these cool, weird mammals that have scales. They're one of the most trafficked mammals on our planet. In Zimbabwe, this group of men is fighting every day to preserve these cute little weirdos. Um, and over exploitation is a huge threat. They're being poached. People think their scales have a medicinal purpose. Spoiler alert, they don't. And in fact, COVID came that virus came from an intermingling between bats and pangolins, maybe. The jury's still out on that. So remember Hippco, and you will always remember the threats to biodiversity, the threats to species loss. Hippco, just remember it, and you'll do fine on those questions. Peace out. Boop.